Dear students, Assalamu alaikum. You are listening to Mati-Ullah-Khattak teaching you English. Today our topic is The Merchant of Venice, a play which is written by William Shakespeare. This play has a very simple plot. So you need to understand what is a plot. What does a plot mean? Plot means a series of events, or you can say happenings or occurrings which are taking place in a play, and so the play or the story moves forward. We call it the plot of that drama or play. Usually major characters in any sort of play, drama, are held responsible for the development of the plot. And here in this play, The Merchant of Venice, the major characters are Shylock, Antonio, Bassanio, and Portia. All the events, or you can say happenings, or you can say occurrences, which are taking place in the play, are directly or indirectly connected with them. So they are the main driving force of the play. Before proceeding to the main actual text of the play, let us give a brief description of the plot. The very first important action or event or happening that we notice is that Bassanio goes to Antonio and seek his help to give him some money in order to get himself ready to get married to Portia. So this is the first event. This is the first happening occurring. Portia, who is a rich lady, and she is living in Belmont. Antonio has no money to assist Bassanio at that moment, so both of them decide to visit Shylock. So this is the second event. They decide to visit Shylock to borrow money from him. Shylock is a money lender, a usurious. Usurious means a person who lends money to people on very high interest, and he lends them money on a very cruel condition. And that cruel condition is that he shall cut off a pound of flesh from Antonio's body, from any part of his body, if he fails to return the money on appointed day. Unfortunately, they do not have the money to return on the fixed day and date. So now the third event, the third happening occurring takes place. And that occurring is that in such critical moments, Portia comes to their rescue, and Antonio's life is saved. Otherwise, he was in extreme danger and his life was going to end very soon. The fourth event takes place in the court where the trial proceeds, and the play then comes to a happy ending. So here you need to understand what is a comedy, what is a tragedy and what is a tragicomedy. Comedy is a play, is a drama where the characters are involved in love affair. They have great fun, great laughter. They are free from any sort of serious worldly problems. And such a play usually comes to a happy ending. Usually marriages take place at the end, and we call it comedy. Second kind of play or drama is called a tragedy. Tragedy is a play where the characters go through a lot of tension. Their lives are in extreme danger, and they have no chance to save themselves by any stroke of fortune. Any good luck doesn't come to them. And at the end, we see that the important characters, major characters, lose their struggle against life. They die. This kind of play is then called a tragedy. But this one that we are dealing with, this one is an example of tragicomedy. You will read a play written by William Shakespeare, which is called a tragedy, King Lear. If you want to read a play by the same writer, William Shakespeare, that is Twelfth Night. Twelfth Night is a play by William Shakespeare. That is a good comedy. Example of a comedy. This one we are reading is called tragicomedy. It starts as a tragedy but ends as a comedy. So the characters in the start of the play, they are in great tension and their lives seems to be in danger, but they are saved by the stroke of fortune, and the play comes to a happy ending. Marriages take place, there is happiness, they are merry, they are joyful. So the play has a happy ending. This kind of play is then called a tragicomedy, which starts as a tragedy and ends as a comedy. So at the end of this lesson, students must be able to know the concept of a comedy, of a tragedy, and a tragic comedy. They must be able to understand to take revenge is a curse forever. They must be able to know the concept of a true friendship. They must be able to appreciate the character of Shylock, Antonio, Bassanio, Portia, Nerissa, and Greciano. So here you can see is the writer of the play, William Shakespeare. He was a playwright, he was a poet, he was an actor, and he was widely regarded, considered as the greatest writer in the English language and the world's greatest dramatist. He is often called England's national poet and the bard of Avon. Bard is a word which is used in poetry for a professional poet. So he was a professional poet, bard of Avon. Avon is the name of that place where he was born. He was born on April 15, 64. This is the name of the place where he was born, Stratford upon Avon, which is in United Kingdom, England. He died on April 23rd, 1616, in the same county or district, which is called Stratford upon Avon, which is in United Kingdom. His wife's name was Annie Hathaway. So, this is the history of the writer. Let us see what we are going to read in this play, what we are going to discuss in this play. This play is about a stone-hearted and merciless Jew. The name of that merciless Jew is Shylock. Stone-hearted, he is a very cruel person, he is a very merciless person, and his name is Shylock. By religion, he is a Jew who lived in Venice. So this person lived in Venice, a province of Italy. He was a money lender and lent money to Christian merchants on high interest rates. On very high interest. He was a money lender by profession. As I told you, he was a usurious person. He lent money on very high interest. And who were the borrower? Usually they were Christian merchants. They used to borrow money from this money lender named Shylock. Antonio, this person was a nobleman, a very generous person. He was Christian. He was very rich and noble Christian merchant who lent money to the needy without interest. So he lent money. People borrowed money from this person, but he did not take any interest from the people. He lent them money free of interest. And this was the main cause of hostility, animosity, opposition between Shylock and Antonio. Shylock used to give money, to lend money to people on high interest, and Antonio lent money to people free of interest. So there was an enmity between Shylock the Jew and Antonio the Christian. Enmity means hostility. Hostility means opposition. What plan Shylock made to take revenge? Now Shylock was seeking an opportunity to take revenge upon Antonio, somehow to kill this person, somehow to take revenge upon this person. So he was making a plan. What plan Shylock made to take revenge upon Antonio? And how was he humiliated? Humiliated means he was degraded. He had to face humiliation, disrespect. कैसे उसको बेइज्जती का सामना करना पड़ा? He was planning to take revenge upon Antonio, but he failed miserably. He had to face disrespect, and he became the butt of laughing among the people who were present in the court. So we shall read about it in the play. The play starts that Shylock, the Jew, lived at Venice. He was a usurer who had amassed an immense fortune by lending money at great interest to Christian merchants. Shylock, being a hard-hearted man, exacted the payment of the money he lent with such severity that he was much disliked by all good men, and particularly by Antonio, a young merchant of Venice. And Shylock as much hated Antonio because he used to lend money to people in distress and would never take any interest for the money he lent. Therefore, there was great enmity between this covetous Jew and the generous merchant Antonio. Whenever Antonio met Shylock on the Rialto, he used to reproach him with his usuries and hard dealings, which the Jew would bear with seeming patience while he secretly meditated revenge. Let us see the important points. Shylock the Jew. So Shylock, this man, was by religion a Jew, and he lived in Venice. So you keep these points in mind. He was a usurer. Usurer, as you can see, he was a moneylender on high interest. He had amassed an immense fortune. He had gathered a lot of wealth, riches. Fortune means wealth, riches. A lot of fortune, wealth he had gathered. How he had gathered that fortune, that wealth, that money? By lending money at great interest to Christian merchants. As I told you, his main targets, his main sufferers were Christian merchants. These were usually Christians who used to borrow money from this person named Shylock. Shylock was a hard-hearted man. He was a very cruel man. He was a very stone-hearted man. He had no sympathy for any person, even for his own daughter. He had no sympathy, as you will read it in the text as we go on to read the play, to discuss the play. So he used to exact the payment of the money he lent with such severity that he was much disliked by all good men. Exacted means demanded, to demand back the payment of the money he lent with such severity, strictness, that he was much, and because of this strictness, this attitude, this behavior, he was much hated. He was much hated, disliked by all good men, and particularly by Antonio. So Antonio is a good man and he is a bad man. Antonio is the hero, you can say, because he is fighting for the cause of for a good cause, and and Shylock, you can say, is totally against him. So Antonio is the hero, and then Portia, she may also be called the heroine because fighting. She is fighting for a great cause, and that cause is to save the life of an innocent person named Antonio. So Antonio mainly disliked him, hated him, because he used to demand his money with extreme strictness. He was a young merchant of Venice. He also lived in Venice and he was a young man. And Shylock as much hated Antonio. Shylock had the same quantity of hatred for him as Antonio had for Shylock because he used to lend money to people in distress. Why did Shylock hate Antonio? Because Antonio used to lend money to give money to people when they were in painful situation, distress, difficulty, problem or painful situation is you can see over here, painful situation, and would never take any interest for the money he lent. He was not in the habit of getting interest. He used to lend them money free of interest, free of any charge. Therefore, there was great enmity between this covetous Jew and the generous merchant Antonio. So, this was the cause of hostility, opposition, animosity between these two persons. The Jew was covetous. Covetous means he was very avaricious. He was a money lover. He had great greed for money. Such a person is called covetous. And Antonio was a generous person. His generosity, as we quoted, that he used to lend money to people free of charge, free of interest. Whenever Antonio met Shylock on the Rialto, Rialto is the name of that exchange where the business activities exchange. Rialto, it is the name of that place where the business activities take place. There they used to meet each other. Antonio met Shylock on the Rialto. He used to reproach him with his usuries and hard dealings. Reproach him, criticize him. Antonio used to criticize him. He used to blame him. He used to say bad things to him. Why? With his usuries, because he used to lend money to people on high interest, on his interest, for his interest, and hard dealings. Dealings, business activities, that your business activities are not bearable, which the Jew would bear with seeming patience, while he secretly meditated revenge. This kind of attitude of Antonio was not liked by Shylock, but he used to bear it with patience, with quiet quietness. But it was only seeming. It was not that he was bearing it. He was only showing that I am bearing you. I am not going to say anything to you. While he was secretly meditated revenge, he was secretly meditated. He thought about, meditate means thought deeply, to take revenge, to find an opportunity in order to harm you for anything bad that you have done to me. That is called revenge. Revenge means if somebody has hurted you, has done something bad to you, you try to find an occasion, find an opportunity in order to do the same wrong thing to him, do the same bad thing to him. This is called revenge. So he was always looking for an occasion to take revenge upon him. This is the end of this lecture. Wait for the next lecture uh, in which we will discuss the remaining. events in detail. Thank you very much.